once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time.
Hey kids, it's Craig, and you're listening to Between Light and Shadow, a Twilight Zone podcast. We've been off the air for a bit, and I guess technically we're still off the air, but I wanted to do a quick check-in with y'all because, well, I love you and stuff, and plus Teresa said I had to. So I left things kinda hanging in midair last time we spoke, but I did promise to keep y'all apprised of the status of the podcast. So here I am, apprising as promised. Okay. I can say with some assuredness that the cast will definitely continue. Now, if you follow us on Facebook, you probably already know that, but I don't know how many of you are on Facebook. You know, as stupid and annoying as Facebook can be, it's probably the easiest way to keep track of us. Plus, they have that cool live feature, which allows one to broadcast live video, which I've dabbled a tiny bit in, and wow, it's kind of amazing. I can grab my phone and send an immediate video message to everyone who follows us. Technology, man, it's crazy. I'm planning on using this a lot more in the future, so if you aren't on Facebook, well, you might miss out. I've been wanting to bring in some more multimedia elements for a while now, and this is a really easy way to do it. I'm planning on showing off some of my Twilight Zone memorabilia and stuff, maybe some video simulcasts of the podcast. It's going to be cool. Or, I don't know, maybe it'll fail spectacularly. It should be interesting either way, so stay tuned. I want to take a second to thank some folks. See, I was pretty discouraged when I turned off the mic back in January, and a few really great people jumped in to offer some much-needed encouragement. First and foremost, a dear friend of the podcast, Dr. Reba Wisner, who has been a collaborative force from the very beginning, was right there to talk me down off the proverbial ledge. And Tom Elliott of the Twilight Zone podcast sent me some really nice words that helped me put it all in perspective. And then there's Dave Scow, who didn't exactly provide encouragement per se, but he did request that I get off my ass and deliver some more content. So, yeah, thanks you guys. It means a lot. And something else that's essentially brought me back from the brink. Hell, more than that, it's basically guaranteed that another 13 plus weeks of the podcast will happen, is the nomination we received in the multimedia category of the Rondo Horror Awards. This ain't the Oscars. It ain't the Emmys. It's something even cooler. So a bit of backstory is in order, and for that, we're going to crib some notes from, yeah, you know where.
Oh, Wiki, you're so fun, you blow my mind. Hey, Wiki.
Rondo Hatton was an American soldier, journalist, and occasional actor with a minor career playing thuggish bit and extra parts in Hollywood B-movies, culminating in his elevation to horror movie star status with Universal Studios in the last 2 years of his life, and posthumously as a cult movie icon. He was known for his unique facial features, which were the result of acromegaly, a syndrome caused by a disorder of the pituitary gland. Since 2002, the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Awards represent Hatton in both name as well as his likeness. The physical award is a representation of Hatton's likeness based on the bust of the Creeper, portrayed by Hatton in the 1946 Universal Pictures film House of Horrors. And directly from the Rondo website, since 2002, the Rondos have been fandom's only classic horror awards, decided by fans for fans. Every nominee is being recognized for significant work or achievement in the year 2016, so add your voice and help make a difference. The Rondo Awards encompass all the usual categories: Best Movie, Best TV Show, Best Book, Best Magazine Article, Best Magazine Cover, Best Collectible, and Best Multimedia Site, which is a fancy term for podcast as far as I can tell. Now, regular listeners of the podcast will recall that I talked a bit about the coveted Rondo Award with my pal Derek M. Cook of Monster Kid Radio fame, who won himself a Rondo back in 2014. That was in our Halloween 2016 episode. Monster Kid Radio won a Rondo, which, if listeners aren't aware of what that is, the Rondo Awards are done yearly. It covers movies, TV shows, books, and podcasts. And I don't know if you're privy to this. Like, do they give like the final like numbers, like how many votes you had versus the competition?
I've never seen those. I don't know if there's another group or a committee that counts these things or what. I don't know what the final numbers are. So I really don't know. I think what happened, the best that I can gather is when the winners are announced, David Colton, who is the man behind the whole thing, he'll announce the winner, but then he'll also announce like the runners up and the honorable mentions. So you kind of get a ranking there, but you don't get the actual numbers, which is fine.
I want that thing. I'm not gonna lie. I want that damn thing.
It's a cool little award. I've got it sitting up on my bookshelf in my living room over here. It is an actual physical award. It's not just one of these things where a website says you're the best. I mean, it's an actual award. It's based on a sculpt by. Oh man, why am I drawing a blank? Oh, Monster Kids are gonna. It's early, listeners. I haven't had any coffee yet, so please forgive me. Carrie Gamble.
Okay.
Wow. I've even had him on my show. Carrie, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Oh, no. No, it's an actual physical award. It's pretty cool.
Oh,
how the resources are put together to put this thing on, I don't know where the money comes from because it's open to everybody. If you get nominated, great. And that's just an honor in itself.
Oh, sure.
I've been on the ballot for my various shows over the years. This was my first win, and it was pretty humbling. Humbling.
That's did you actually go, because there's a ceremony, right?
There is. It's back east, and I was not able to go. I did send in an acceptance video, however, and I believe it's on my YouTube channel. So if you look at Monster Kid Radio on YouTube, you might find my acceptance video there. I would love to get out there. Larry Underwood, Dr. Gangrene, the horror host, he has gone repeatedly. I mean, he's won a couple of Rondos over the years himself, and he tells me how awesome that convention is overall, not just the ceremony, but the actual convention it's part of, which is just something I've never had a chance to do, but I would love to get out there someday.
So you have it. It's sitting in your living room. I have this fantasy of having my desk, and it just sits there, and it just looks at me. I just feel like that would be oddly inspiring. I don't know. And the aforementioned David J. Scow won one as well just last year for his wonderful book, The Outer Limits at 50. Okay, he actually tied with Tom Weaver's equally wonderful book, The Creature Chronicles. But a tie for first place is still first place, and that's all that matters. Dave Scout is like my spirit animal. He was a guiding force behind my Outer Limits blog, and he's been a good friend and a big supporter of the podcast. So Dave, I love you, you leather-clad, ponytailed bastard. I've got to get you on the podcast sometime soon. Anyway, back to the Rondos. I'm not gonna lie, I want one. Do I deserve one? Debatable after such a short time on the air, but maybe that's just my insecurity talking. Do I want one? Hell yes. And as fate would have it, this humble little podcast has indeed been nominated. So will we win? I don't know, probably not. There are some serious heavy hitters also nominated. The aforementioned Monster Kid Radio, which absolutely deserves another one. And then there's Kaiju Cast, a podcast devoted to all things Godzilla, which has been nominated in the past but hasn't won. And then there's also a bunch of others that I'm not familiar with. See, the Rondo Awards are all about classic horror, which the Twilight Zone is only kinda sorta tangentially connected to. I mean, sure, there's horror to be found in the Twilight Zone, but the Rondos are mostly concerned with monster-based horror. Frankenstein, Dracula, zombies, lycanthropes, all of which I love. But that ain't really what we're about here. But nevertheless, we're nominated. But it's not the first time the Twilight Zone has been nominated. In fact, the old girl has been represented many times over the past 15 Rondo years. Way back in 2003, the second new Twilight Zone TV series, the one on UPN, which I largely disregard, actually won a Rondo for the episode It's Still a Good Life, which was a sequel to the original series episode It's a Good Life, which, okay, yeah, it brings back Bill Mumy and Cloris Leachman, and it does not suck. Nah, it doesn't just not suck. It's actually pretty good. In 2008, The Twilight Zone, Unlocking the Door to a Television Classic by Martin Grams Jr., that 40-pound big beast of a tome, won the coveted Best Book Award. Yeah, I'm on board with that. It's pretty much indispensable for any advanced Twilight Zone research. Now in 2009, our friends over at Biff Bang Pow won a Rondo for their Talking Tina bobblehead in the Best Toy, Model, or Collectible category. I have 2 of them, so I can attest to its awesomeness. Mine don't work anymore, but it's 8 years later, so no points docked. Batteries do die. Now, 2010 is interesting. The Rondos have a category for Monster Kid of the Year. And in 2010, it was awarded to both Gary Girani, author of Fantastic Television, and Mark Scott Zickery, author of The Twilight Zone Companion. But the award wasn't for either of those books. They were actually recognized for their numerous audio commentary tracks on the Twilight Zone Blu-ray collections. And speaking of those wonderful and indispensable Twilight Zone Blu-rays, the complete series set took the Best Classic Horror Collection Award in 2011. And those are just the actual wins. There have been several more nominations and honorable mentions over the years. But here's the thing, kids. This is the very first time in 15 years that a Twilight Zone specific podcast has been nominated for a Rondo. If you listen to this podcast, then you undoubtedly listen to Tom Elliott's Twilight Zone podcast, and of course the Twilight Pone, 2 podcasts that make mine look like a middle school crayon and glitter project. The very notion that they've never been nominated, and yet here we are, Jesus, I don't know. But here we are. This is happening. So hey, let's fucking roll with it. Listeners, a vote for us isn't just a vote for Between Light and Shadow. It's a vote for the Twilight Zone itself. And more than that, it's a vote for all the other Twilight Zone podcasters out there. Tom, Fred, John, Brandon, David, Matt, Jeremy, Ron. This nomination is for all of us. See, we're kind of a community in this subcategory of a subcategory of podcasts. We've crossed over onto one another's shows. We're mostly all friends, or at least acquaintances. We all love the Twilight Zone. We're all dunking our mics in the same murky, treacherous waters. And we can argue forever about who deserves this nomination, but the bottom line is this. This one right here got it. So let's all pull together and unite and win this thing. Go to rondoaward.com for instructions on how to vote. That's RONDOAWARD.com. Or hell, I'll just read the instructions to you straight from the website. All voting is by email only. The easiest way to vote is to copy and paste this ballot into an email, mark your choices, and send your picks to me, David Colton, at tarako@aol.com by Sunday night at midnight, April 16th, 2017. No, you do not have to vote in every category. Vote for all or a few. One vote per person, please. Every email must include your name to be counted. All votes are kept strictly confidential. Feel free to spread the word about the Rondo on social media. But please do not mass produce ballots. Suspicious ballots will be rejected at the sole discretion of Rondo organizers. Let's keep this a fun vote. Again, to vote, email your picks to tarako@aol.com. That's TARACO@aol.com. You actually don't even have to copy and paste the ballot. You can just send Mr. Colton an email with your name and your vote for Between Light and Shadow, a Twilight Zone podcast. But you should vote in some of the other categories too. Best movie, best TV show, best book, etc. But either way, make your voice heard. This is bigger than me, bigger than any of us. The modern world doesn't care about classic films or classic TV or anything in black and white that doesn't use OMG or LOL in its vocabulary. We have a responsibility to keep the past alive, to keep things like the Twilight Zone in the modern lexicon, to perpetuate the lessons of the past. Even something as venerable and reliably relevant as the Twilight Zone could eventually fade away in the bright LED hurricane of social media and cookie-cutter movie plots and narrowing attention spans and corporations making decisions that only artists should make. A vote for Between Light and Shadow is the equivalent of taking a stand. We value the past. We value its lessons, its keen eye, its understanding of social issues untainted by fake news and smartphone life coaching. We are better than all of that. We are the Twilight Zone. In the words of Mark Scott Zickery, we are the children of Rod Serling's vision. So come on, let's do this, people. But no matter the outcome, whether we buck the odds and take home the Rondo or we limp home in bleeding, aching shame, Between Light and Shadow will continue. I've mapped out another 13 weeks worth of episodes, and we've got a number of pretty cool surprises in store. So keep tuning in. I've got to say, this time away has been really good for me. Therapeutic, cleansing. But I'm almost ready to jump back in. There's so much Twilight Zone territory still to cover. We've barely scratched the surface. So hang tight, gang. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a Canamit's tail. Wait, do they have tails? I don't think they do. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a gremlin's... Wait, no, they don't have tails either. There are no tails in the Twilight Zone. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a Megasoid's tail. Yeah. Yes, I know, that's an Outer Limits reference. But it counts, damn it, because here, in the warm, safe folds of BLNS, it counts. This is an Outer Limits friendly place. We may be Twilight Zone centric, but we aren't exclusive. In fact, I'm planning a special Outer Limits episode. You hear that, Dave? Anyway, we'll be back in force later this spring. Probably, I don't know, like sometime in May, maybe. To everybody who got us this far, be it by downloads or feedback or direct contact or just listening, thank you. A million times over, thank you. Now, go and vote, damn it. Voting closes April 16th at midnight. But don't wait till the last minute because, well, what if your internet suddenly goes out right before you click send on that email? How about you go right now and vote? Win us that thing. Keep the dream alive. Remember, you can find us on Facebook and Tumblr. Just do a search for Twilight Zone Podcast and you'll find us. But frankly, I only post the actual podcast episodes on Tumblr. Facebook is where everything else happens. Or there's always email. You can drop us a line at zonepod@gmail.com. That's zonepod@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from y'all. So for now, I'm out of here. Till next time, kids, play nice.